Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, I just watched the New York Giants blow a 10-point lead or a 7-point lead down the end of the fourth quarter and ended up with a tie to the Washington Commanders, ladies and gentlemen. Not a good way to start my sports day. I don't know if it started the sports day, but not a good way. I'm hoping that the Knicks can do better than that. Ladies and gentlemen, seriously, I need the Knicks to do better than that. The Knicks take on the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight in just about an hour and 15 minutes. Donovan Mitchell will make his first appearance at the Garden as a Cleveland Cavalier. Not the way that fans wanted Donovan Mitchell to show up at Madison Square Garden this season, but it is what it is, and this is what we got to deal with, ladies and gentlemen. And so you already know there's going to be a lot of talk tonight, after tonight's game, no matter what happens about Donovan Mitchell not being a New York Knick, just as it was earlier in the season when the Knicks took on the Cleveland Cavaliers. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break this one down and see can the Knicks recover from last night's loss to the Dallas Mavericks. And it's crazy. Yeah, it already seems like it was 2 days away. It was an early game yesterday, though, right? It was an early game. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's look at the previous matchup first. The last time the Knicks and the Cavaliers played, ladies and gentlemen, they lost 121-108. The Knicks actually had a 9-point lead in that basketball game, but Donovan Mitchell proved to be way too much for the New York Knicks to handle, ladies and gentlemen. In that basketball game, Donovan Mitchell had 38 points and 12 assists to lead the Cleveland Cavaliers. And Dean Wade, who's out tonight, he had 22 points. Jared Allen, who played, he's not going to play tonight. I believe he's out. He had 6 points and 13 rebounds. So right now, these are going to be two different teams coming in to tonight's game. That's without a doubt because of injuries and so on. They got some firepower back. They're losing some firepower. The Knicks, Quentin Grimes will be back. So hopefully, the last time the Knicks played the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think Evan Fournier guarded Donovan Mitchell. That was a little bit puzzling to me. I wasn't happy about that. But it is what it is. That's the way that Tom Thibodeau decided to go about things on that evening. 16 points and 7 rebounds for Evan Mobley. And then, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Love burnt the New York Knicks for 29 points in that game. 29 points. He is playing tonight. The Knicks could not deal with the pick and pop of the Cleveland Cavaliers. They couldn't deal with it. They were killing us on the pick and pop. Killing us on the pick and pop. At that point in time, the Knicks were really confused about who should be switching on to who, when they should switch, so on and so forth. And I don't know if it's much. I think that's better. The Knicks got better in that department after Kevin Love burnt them for 29 points. 29 points and 8 rebounds for Kevin Love. They got better in that department. We'll see, if the Cleveland Cavaliers, try to take advantage of it tonight. Obviously now they got Darius Garland in the fold, who is, he's averaging 22 points and 8 assists so far this season. And, he's able to now, you don't need Donovan Mitchell to get those 12 assists like he did versus the Knicks last time. Now, he can just go ahead and play off the ball and do what he needs to do as far as scoring the basketball and let Darius Garland worry about getting everybody else involved. this is going to be a tough matchup for the New York Knicks. I mean, we knew that coming into the game. But it's going to be another tough one. All right, the Cleveland Cavaliers shot 46% from the three-point line in that game, ladies and gentlemen. They took 50 three-point attempts, and they made 23. Last night, the Dallas Mavericks took 61 three-point attempts. They made 24 or something like that. But the Cleveland Cavaliers shot 46% from the three-point line versus the Knicks in the previous game. 46%. Listen, this team is shooting the ball well from the three-point line. I think 38%, somewhere around there. If we let them get loose, it's over. It's over. The Knicks lost this game by 13. They were only 8 for 16 from the free throw line, and from the three-point line, they shot 37%, but they only took 27 attempts. As a matter of fact, the Cleveland Cavaliers almost made as many threes as the Knicks attempted. So the Knicks got to, listen, yesterday's performance, the first half was fine. The Knicks had a 7-point lead, so clearly it was fine. The second half is where the Knicks really crumbled. That third quarter was horrendous. Horrendous. It was terrible. And, you know, I seen some people in my chat yesterday or in my comment section after the post-game show. They were like, yo, Sim, you got to get a little bit more. You're too calm after a loss. You got to get a little bit more animated, I guess. I can't do it. That's not me. That's not my demeanor. You know what I mean? That's just who I am. I ain't going to bug out and lose my hair and all of that over the New York Knicks. I love the New York Knicks, but, you know, there's a limit. So, you know, if you're expecting me to go crazy and start cursing and bugging out and doing all that wild stuff, this is the wrong channel for you, my brother, because I'm not doing that. We'll see if the Knicks, ladies and gentlemen, can have a better performance today. All right. It's tough on a back-to-back when you play the way that they played on a back-to-back. Well, you know, the first half of a back-to-back. Now you got to come in with a whole new energy versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it's tough because you still got some of that stink from the last game, or at least the second half of the last game. You still got some of that stink, right? You don't even have a chance to clear it out of your system. Now they got to come in and perform against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And on top of that, you got the whole thing with Donovan Mitchell coming to the Garden and so on and so forth, man. So the Knicks have some things cut out for them today. Because if the Knicks start to play, they got booed yesterday afternoon, and they deserved it. They deserved it big time. Little 8-year-old kids booing them. They deserve to get booed. But I'm going to tell you what, if they perform like that today, with Donovan Mitchell in the house, just knowing everything that happened over the summer, Donovan Mitchell. And if they come out and perform that way on the second night of a back-to-back, you know, so it's still fresh in the minds of the fans. The whole thing with Donovan Mitchell was still fresh in the minds of the fans. And if they perform like that tonight, oh, man, they're going to hear it big time. You know what I mean? They will hear it big time. And, yeah. They need to erase. They need to win tonight to erase yesterday and, you know, clear out this whole Donovan Mitchell thing as well. The Knicks need to get this win. And it's not going to be easy at all. Let's take a look at actually, let me run down the injury report for the Knicks. All of the New York Knicks rotation players are healthy. And for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Jared Allen is out. Dean Wade is out. Remember, Dean Wade had 22 points against his last game. You know, that's what's going on there. All right. And because of that, we'll take a look at, we might as well take a look at the starting lineups, and then we'll do, you know, the overall team comparison. All right, so starting, that's the bench units. Let me bring it back. There you go. Starting For the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. And for the Cleveland Cavaliers, you have Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Lamar Stevens, either Kevin Love or Cedi Osman, depending on how they want to go. Now, they can decide to try to go small as well, and they could put Karis LeVert in there at that forward spot. I don't know if that's going to be a good idea for them, for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I'm assuming they'll probably go with either Love or Osman to deal with Julius Randle. Right? If I were them, I might start off with Kevin Love and see if we can manufacture right from the beginning of the game, if we can manufacture, some of that pick and pop things they had going on in the previous game. Obviously, both teams have looked at the tape and, they are, making adjustments for this game. But if I'm the Cleveland Cavaliers, I see if we can take advantage of that one more time, and I'm starting Kevin Love. If it doesn't work, Kevin Love ain't up to it. You know what I mean? You can always sub him. But that's who I'd be going with if I was the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's difficult to say exactly what they might do, but those are the projected starting lineups, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I expect that the Knicks bench should be able to perform well. One, they're going to have, they got some guys moving into that starting lineup. All right. Either Love or Osman is going to move into that starting lineup, or it could be Karis LeVert moving into that starting lineup. So, they're taking some firepower off the bench, all right, to make up for Dean Wade being out. Jared Allen's been out for a little bit. So you have on the bench for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro, Diakite, hopefully I said his name correctly, and either Love or Osman. And for the Knicks, you have Emmanuel Quickley, Derrick Rose, Cam Reddish, Obi Toppin, and Isaiah Hartenstein. When you look at the bench units as far as scoring, the Knicks are 8 points better than the Cleveland Cavaliers. They don't shoot the ball better, though. But they are 8 points better. And now you're taking a potential guy off the bench. Right? So you're not going to get the same bench production from the Cleveland Cavaliers. The New York Knicks bench should have an upper hand tonight, in my opinion. We'll see. Obviously, when we talk about the bench units, it's very rarely going to be 5 players from the bench of the Knicks playing against 5 players of the bench versus the Cleveland Cavaliers or any other team. Most teams, the Knicks are one of the only teams that do this, to be honest with you. But most teams leave a starter out there with the bench, right? Because most teams only go 8 deep, 9 deep. Right, so they always have a starter out there with the bench, and then they, get that starter a couple of minutes, send them down, put in another starter as they move around in rotation. Right, so even though you might look and say, well, the bench unit only averages 29 points per game, just remember that the bench unit is not going to be all 5 bench players of Cleveland versus all 5 bench players of the Knicks most times. It's possible. But I'm not sure we see that tonight. Either Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell will probably be in the game. Either one of those guys will likely be in the game, right? You want to give some moments for Darius Garland to be able to perform. You want to give some, perform without Donovan Mitchell, and you want to give Mitchell some moments to perform without Darius Garland. And Evan Mobley might have some minutes to himself. So, even though we look at the bench units, this just means the Knicks have maybe have a little bit of a deeper bench. Maybe their bench plays a little bit more minutes. But, when you couple that with the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers are probably going to have one of their star guards on the floor at all times, it makes it difficult for the Knicks bench unit to actually, have that kind of an impact on the game. But they will. We need Quickly to step in. He's been playing well. We need Quickly to step in and perform like he has been. He had 23 points last night in a loss to the Dallas Mavericks. Cam Reddish to play some defense. Obi Toppin to give you some plays. Hartenstein needs to step up and play if he's going to be out there on the floor. You know what I'm saying? If he's going to be out there on the floor, Hartenstein's got to give the Knicks something. He really hasn't been giving the Knicks much over the past few games. 8 points and 3 rebounds versus the Cleveland Cavaliers the first time they played. And he played 15 minutes. The Knicks need Mitchell Robinson to perform. Mitchell Robinson didn't play well yesterday. I keep saying last night. It was yesterday. He didn't perform well. All right, the Knicks need Mitchell Robinson to get back to that 20-rebound guy. He's not going to grab 20 rebounds, right? But he needs to, we need him grabbing 11, 12 rebounds out there. Last night, Mitchell Robinson, 6 rebounds, 2 points. They need that guy to perform. You know what I'm saying? Because the Knicks don't shoot well from the field. All right, so if the Knicks aren't shooting well from the field, you got to have someone who can grab offensive rebounds. That's Mitchell Robinson's specialty. And then obviously what he does in helping to defend the rim means a lot. Okay? But that's the bench units, ladies and gentlemen, for the New York Knicks. I don't mean to go off on different tangents, all right? Let me stay focused and get back. Looking at the defensive matchups, going back to the starters, in my opinion, you almost have no choice looking at, I guess you have a choice. You could I think Lamar Stevens is like 6'8" or 6'9", so, that's definitely a size difference with Jalen Brunson. Maybe you decide that you're going to put, I don't know. Right now, I just have it. Jalen Brunson is going to guard Darius Garland, Quentin Grimes on Donovan Mitchell, R.J. Barrett on Stevens, Randall on Love or Osman, and Mitchell Robinson on Evan Mobley. That's what I have right now. Could I see a world? I could definitely see R.J. Barrett having to guard either Garland or Mitchell, right? I could see that. And maybe you would go Grimes on Garland and Barrett on Mitchell. You know what I'm saying? And then Stevens, and then Brunson on Stevens, I guess. If that's who's going to be out there on the floor. We'll see how they decide to mix up the lineups. I would be more comfortable with just allowing Brunson to guard Garland. You can always switch it up, but base defense, that's where I would be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? We're asking R.J. Barrett to get low on either one of those guys, really get low. Does he have quick enough feet to stop either one of them? I don't think so. Especially not this year from what we've seen from R.J. So I wouldn't even ask him to do it unless there's a switch, which there will be. I would just go straight up just like this. I think that's what I'm rocking with right now and see what Jalen Brunson. Well, I'm pretty sure Jalen Brunson can let Tom Thibodeau know, and we'll let him know, hey, this is what I've done against this guy. I feel confident or I do not feel confident. But those are my defensive matchups for this evening. Again, the game begins at 6 o'clock. Okay? Game begins at 6 o'clock. Don't forget that. So there you go. Well, I'm going to come back to this a little bit later. Let's take a look at the team comparison, ladies and gentlemen. For the season, Cleveland Cavaliers, 15-8. They are currently third in the Eastern Conference. They're 10-1 at home. They're 5-7 on the road. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games, and they've won their last 2 games. The New York Knicks, 10-13 on the season. All right, 6-6 in the conference, 1-2 in the division. They're 4-7 at home. They're 6-6 on the road, 4-6 in the last 10, and they've lost their last 2 games. That home record, ladies and gentlemen, it really does bother me. It does. You know, because there's so many different things at play. So many different things at play for the reason why the Knicks don't perform well at home, you know. I think there's pressure. They feel pressure. You know, we talked about it before. They feel pressure. Players come to the Garden and want to perform a little bit better. You know what I mean? And then, you know, the Knicks just have to be mentally tough. But that, you know, losing record at home, that's not going to cut it. Because it's going to be hard for you to have a winning record on the road. You should be shooting for having a winning record at home and at least 500 on the road. But not this basketball team. Not this basketball team. All right. Now the Knicks 10-13 on the season, man. 114.6 points per game, 46 rebounds, 23.8 assists, 7 steals, 4.6 blocks, just about 14 turnovers. But the shooting, the shooting has really become the difference in most of the Knicks' losses. It's the shooting. 45.6% from the field, 31.9% from three. Especially the three-point shooting. And it's making it very difficult for the Knicks to win games. The Cleveland Cavaliers, 112.7 points per game, 43 rebounds, 24 assists, basically 6.2 steals, 4.1 blocks, just about 15 turnovers, 48% from the field and 38.5% from three. And this has been the difference in most of the games this season. The shooting. And the Knicks don't play defense good. And if you're not going to shoot the ball well, you got to have something. You got to have something if you're not going to shoot. The Knicks are dead last in the league in shooting the three, ladies and gentlemen. Dead last. 31.9% is dead last in the league. They take 34 attempts per game. 34. All right. And, you know, that is middle of the pack. That's 11th. But when you look at the teams around the Knicks, the San Antonio Spurs, they take 34.5 attempts, but they make 34% of their threes. Okay, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they take 34 attempts, but they make 34% of their threes. And although 34% isn't much better, it's 2 or 3 threes, it's 2 or 3 shots from the three-point line better than the Knicks, which means a lot. Right? That's 6 points. That's 3 to 6 points. How many games have the Knicks lost within 6 points? Right? That's a lot. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's see. How many attempts per game for the Cleveland Cavaliers? While they're shooting the ball at 38.5%, they only attempt about 32 per game. But get it, right? They attempt 32. They make 12. That's 2 better than the New York Knicks. And the Knicks attempt more. Because the Cleveland Cavaliers, you know, are third in the league in knocking down the three-point shots. But remember, last game, they took 50 versus the Knicks. Right? You know, we can look at these numbers all you want when you come in and you play the Knicks and you know the way that they defend the three-point line. I mean, listen, the Dallas Mavericks came into the game averaging 40 three-point attempts per game, shooting at 35% from the field. They ended up taking 61. So you can imagine this number is going to be inflated unless the Knicks really get out there and defend that three-point line. The numbers are going to be deflated. I mean, inflated, not deflated, inflated. because they'll probably take 10 more threes than they normally take because they'll be open, and the Knicks will allow them to shoot the ball from three. This has really been the story of the season. When we talk about the Knicks, I mean, perimeter defense, penetration, that's been an issue, of course, but the three-point shooting, allowing teams to shoot the ball well and get open shots, and then shooting poorly has been the difference in the Knicks being 3 games above 500 or 3 games below 500. It's without a doubt. So how do the Knicks win tonight? Well, number one, guard that three-point line. Right? Guard the three-point line. You're getting burnt night in and night out. It's got to be a topic of conversation in the locker room. If it's not, then that's a coaching issue. But if it's a topic of conversation, but it continues to happen, that's a player issue. But also, if you're the coach and you see it continuing to happen with certain players, and that player doesn't bring a certain amount of value to the floor besides a certain amount of value to the floor, and you don't take them out, then that's a coaching issue. Somehow, some way, the Knicks got to figure out their defense and how to get stops down the stretch, because they've struggled to get stops down the stretch in a lot of these close games. Last night didn't end up being a close game, but previous to that, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Portland Trail Blazers, whoever else they played, getting stops down the stretch. Memphis Grizzlies, that's who it was. Getting stops down the stretch was an issue. The Knicks got to get stops. You don't get stops, you don't win. Plain and simple. You got to defend that three-point line. So for tonight, the Knicks got to defend that three-point line. Do not let the Cleveland Cavaliers shoot 48% from the three-point line. Because if you do that, the game is over before it starts, if that's going to be the recipe. Defend the three-point line. Get the ball moving, okay? Well, let's keep it with defense first. Defend the three-point line. Defend the pick and pop. The Knicks got killed on the pick and pop in the last game versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Right? We talked about it earlier. Dean Wade killed the Knicks. Kevin Love killed the Knicks. Dean Wade's not playing tonight, but Kevin Love is. Cedi Osman can pick and pop. Evan Mobley can pick and pop. All right? Evan Mobley's not going to pull a ton of threes, but he can do it. So the Knicks have to defend that better. Okay? They've got to defend against guard penetration. You have two guys that are dynamic, and Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Right? Jalen Brunson, if you're on Darius Garland, you got to stay in front. Got to stay in front. You got to battle to stay in front of him. If Quentin Grimes is on Donovan Mitchell, listen, it's going to be tough to stay in front of him. Donovan Mitchell is explosive. Okay, obviously he can go one-on-one, and his leaping ability is uncanny. All right, when people talk about Donovan Mitchell's size, his explosiveness, his leaping ability, the length of his arms, those things make up for his size, believe it or not. And then he has a strong upper body, so on the defensive side, he can battle you. I'm not saying he's the best defensive player in the world, but he can battle you. But the Knicks, though, you got to make it tough for him. Quentin Grimes has got to make it tough for Donovan Mitchell. All right, make him have to battle for every single shot. If he's allowed to get some free layups at the basket, he or Darius Garland, we're going to be in trouble. So they've got to aggressively help and then get back out on the three-point shooters. And it's a hard thing to do. There's no doubt about it, because guys can let that three ball go quick nowadays. There is no set. I mean, your feet are set. They're bouncing up off their toes and they're letting it go off their fingertips quickly. But you can't let guys get forays to the basket, right? So you got to help close. Help close, and it's got to be a hard close. And then you got to have guys helping the helper. Like, this is the way that you can help. This is a way that you can help defend that three-point shooting. If I have to help because of guard penetration, then someone now has to help me. Now, if the Cleveland Cavaliers are smart, they clear out a side, so it's just two players, which makes it a little bit harder to help the helper. But we've seen situations where, guys are getting layups at the basket because we did not help the helper. The Knicks also need to get better in transition defense, ladies and gentlemen. This is a team that will run when you give them the opportunity. And they got guys that can get it done. The Knicks do not play good transition defense. When a team gets out and runs, they're going to find, they're going to get to the basket or they may find an open three. So I think they got to do better defensively in transition. Somebody pick up the ball, everybody else find someone who's running the lanes. Don't let them go back door. Keep your eyes on your man and the ball. Keep your head on a swivel. I don't know how many times I've seen the Knicks this season get killed in transition defense. Or killed because they're not playing good transition defense. On the offensive side of the ball, well, let me say this. The Knicks got to finish the defense with a rebound. They got to rebound. Finish the defense with a rebound. All right, so you can get out and run. Don't get out rebounded. Offensively. Last night versus the Dallas Mavericks in the second half, the Knicks got very, very stagnant. Very stagnant. Josh is right. The offense has been trending down. We talked about that yesterday. It's been trending down. The number of assists are down. The number of their field goal percentage is down. Their three-point shooting percentage is down from, the first 5-6 games of the season. And I'll say this, though. It's something that I knew was going to happen. And I talked about it before the season began. There were questions as to, how do you think the Knicks are going to start? And I thought the Knicks would start with their offense playing well. And then it would start to fall. And the reason why is because your first few games, people don't know exactly how you're going to play, right? There's no videotape on how you're going to play. It's not out there, no film on it. So you can kind of do what you want. But then after 6-7 games, there's enough film to actually be able to strategize against you. And so now teams are strategizing against the Knicks, and now the Knicks have to respond. They have to figure out what teams are doing and see can they readjust. Right? And right now they're in that midst of kind of readjusting, I believe. They see what teams are doing. Now they've got to try to readjust, which means, they've got to do some things that are new and figure some things out on, when defenses get tight, who gets the ball. I think they know who gets the ball. That's Jalen Brunson. Understanding where guys want the ball, how guys want the ball, how people react under pressure, and all that kind of stuff. They're figuring that out as a team. Now, guys like R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson, they should know some things about each other, but Jalen Brunson is figuring out those guys. And since he's the one with the ball in his hands the most, the primary ball handler, it's important for him to understand who does what, how they react, et cetera, what their body language means and all of that. So I did think that the offense would begin to drop after so many games. And then from there, it is how will they respond? And they're at that point now where they've got to start responding to how teams have reacted to them or adjusted to them or strategizing against them. So their offense has definitely dropped. Although they've had some nights where they scored big. They're not going to do that consistently. Where and what is this team consistently on the offensive side? They started off the season as a ball-moving team. They've consistently done less and less ball movement. You see it in spurts still, but as defenses get tighter, there's less and less ball movement. Now, there's going to be situations and moments where people have it going. Randall's going to have it going. Brunson's going to have it going. Hopefully, RJ has a few nights where he really has it going. And you're going to take those moments and those opportunities to isolate those guys because that's your best option to score at that moment. But what they've got to do a better job of doing is when one of those guys are hot and then they cool off, of getting everybody else involved again. They've got to do a better job doing that. I think they've got to do a better job in transition offense, I think. I've seen a lot of gaffed 3-on-1 situations or 3-on-2 situations or whatever. I think they've got to do a better job in transition offense, making those easy buckets when they have the opportunity. They've done okay. They're a better transition team this year than last year. I know, last year's fast break numbers were like 8 points a game or something crazy. All right, they're much better this year. But I think they can be better. Yesterday against the Dallas Mavericks, they had 19 turnovers. Right, and then Dallas got hot in the second half. So if you're turning the ball over and the opposing team is hot, you're in trouble. And you see what happened in the second half. The Knicks have been up and down taking care of the basketball. Some nights they, it's 10, 11, 12, then you get 14, 15, 16. So they've got to take care of the ball better. I think we talked about it yesterday. Tom Thibodeau's got to let Jalen Brunson do his thing out there, and not be, looking over top of him all the time. Let Jalen Brunson do his thing. And I also believe that Jalen Brunson is smart enough to adjust. Now, it does take time for, a new player to learn everything that you're doing, right? So that they know who to adjust with, et cetera, et cetera. Right? Okay, we got to adjust. I'm going to put this guy here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm hoping that as the season wears on, Tom Thibodeau just straight up gives the reins to Jalen Brunson and then sits back and tries to relax a little bit. Let the game flow. Come up with adjustments. Talk to your assistant coaches. Sit down for a second. I don't think he's going to, listen, he's not going to do that. I know it, right? He's not going to do it. But it would be nice to see him sit down for a second, survey the basketball game, let Jalen Brunson run it out there, and then talk to Jalen Brunson and say, hey, well, let's do this, let's do that. You know what I mean? Because I do feel like him up, hollering, yelling, screaming, barking out. It does make you look over your shoulder a little bit. But that's his style, and guys are used to it, I'm pretty sure. But you got Jalen Brunson for a reason. Let Jalen Brunson do his thing out there. Just see what happens. Maybe you start to go back to some more ball movement. Man movement. Right? That's something that the Knicks really need. They desperately need to get that back. Especially tonight. You know what I mean? We'll see what they're going to do, man. 007 Angelo, thank you for the super chat. He said, Tibbs' last game is tonight. Dolan has the pink slip ready. I don't know, man. I guess we will find out. We'll find out for sure after tonight's game. If the Knicks win, probably not. If they lose, I'm still going to say probably not. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. My key matchup for the night, ladies and gentlemen, is Jalen Brunson and Darius Garland. I do think that, and I'm sorry about that. That's an old thing that I have up here. So let me there we go. Let me keep it back there. Jalen Brunson, Darius Garland. That's my matchup for the night. I do think Jalen Brunson should be guarding Darius Garland and vice versa. Right? But see, here's the thing. Darius Garland is important for the Cleveland Cavaliers, no doubt about it. But if Darius Garland doesn't have it going, you know Donovan Mitchell will most likely have it going, and he's going to find ways to get it done. With the Knicks, when Jalen Brunson doesn't have it going, Julius Randle, you're hoping Julius Randle will have it going. You're not sure about RJ, right? Like yesterday. Jalen Brunson didn't really have it going against the Dallas Mavericks, but in the first half, Julius Randle did. But then Julius Randle only scored 3 points in the second half. Now, he didn't play the fourth quarter because the Knicks were getting blown out. Jalen Brunson, he played a low amount of minutes as well. So did RJ Barrett, partly due to the rotation schedule. You know what I'm saying? By the time it was their moment or their time to come back into the game, the Knicks were getting smacked. So there was almost no choice and chance, no reason to bring them back in the game. But most nights, when Jalen Brunson isn't going well, the Knicks struggle. It's a little bit tougher for them, right? Because of his ability to score inside and knock down that mid-range. And when he's not hitting that shot, I mean, that's a big part of the Knicks scoring the basketball. The Knicks scored 100 points last night. 121-100. That's what they lost to the Dallas Mavericks. But 21 points, 3.5 rebounds, 6.3 assists for Jalen Brunson, 48.5% from the field, 33.3% from the three-point line, and 87.2% from the free throw line. I tried to do it all in one breath. I think I got it done. The three-point shooting is getting better for Jalen Brunson. At one point, he was down in the 20s. It's getting better, right? And I think he'll eventually get back up to about 38%. But the Knicks need Jalen Brunson to have it going tonight. Okay, they've got to match. He's got to match Darius Garland's output. Defensively, both guards will switch on to different players. We need Jalen Brunson to match that output. Darius Garland, 22 points, 2.2 rebounds, 8 assists, 44.5% from the field, and 41.4% from the three-point line. He also shoots 86.2% from the free throw line. And ladies and gentlemen, he's got a guy in Donovan Mitchell to take a little bit of pressure off of him. But man, he can find guys, right? He can break down the defense. He can break down the defense and pass guys, catch him in, get him the ball in the sweet spot. Plus, he can score for himself, right? He's trouble, without a doubt. It's the reason why Jalen Brunson must match that output. If he doesn't, I think the Knicks will be in trouble. Other guys that need to match output. Julius Randle's got to have a good game. Listen, almost every night, Randle, Brunson, and RJ Barrett need to have a good game. All right, Randle, has been having good games. We need, Randle's decision-making, his decision-making has to get better. He's got to get better defensively. It seems like, especially this season so far, any three-point shooting power forward is, dropping 20. Randle's got to figure that out. You know what I mean? He's got to figure that out. We can't have every single power forward dropping 20 on you every night. But Randle's got to come through. I think Randle tonight, because, Evan Mobley's going to do what he does. With having Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland out there, those two guys, is going to get you 20-something points and whatever else. Donovan Mitchell might get you 30. Julius Randle is going to need to get you 25, 26. Jalen Brunson, 21, 22. And then RJ Barrett, he's got to be on too. Right? The good thing is you have Quentin Grimes to deal with Donovan Mitchell, and you're not expecting Quentin Grimes to give you 20. Right? So you can put Quentin Grimes on Donovan Mitchell to help maybe save some energy for RJ. Okay? I think the Knicks are going to need somebody off the bench to pop off. Emmanuel quickly. He's likely the guy. Maybe Cam Reddish can have a game. He hasn't had a game in a while, like a big game in a while. Maybe Cam Reddish can have a big game, but I would be looking at Emmanuel quickly. He's been playing well. He can pop off. And what's good about Emmanuel quickly is he's playing well defensively too. So he's a guy you can bring in and put on Darius Garland. All right, and I'm not going to say give him some trouble, but, make it so it's not easy for Darius Garland to just do what he wants. So guys got to step up and play ball today, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even know what my prediction is, to be honest with you. I don't know. I came into the game. I came into, not the game, I came into yesterday's game and today's game. I was thinking the Knicks going to get both of them. And for the first half, I felt good. Like, okay, they're up 7. They're playing well. Julius Randle looked like he was on his way to a 40-point game, 21 points in the first half. Then they all crumbled like the walls of Jericho. It all crumbled. Now, looking at the way they played in the second half, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this game. I don't know if they can muster it up. Because this is what I was talking about with the Knicks playing all of these close games and not coming away victorious in at least one of them. It starts to wear thin. You know what I mean? And then you have nights like last night where you're mentally and physically, throughout the game, maybe you get mentally and physically fatigued. As I said before, I think the Knicks are going to have a couple of games like they did in the second half last night because they've got to exert so much energy to compete because of their style of play. The style of players that they have on this team, they've got to exert a lot of energy to compete. I think more than some of you, more than a lot of players, I feel. Because none of them, maybe Julius Randle has some natural aggression and speed, but RJ doesn't have natural speed. Brunson doesn't have natural speed, Neither one of those two guys have that natural athletic ability to just jump over you. Julius Randle, it's not like he jumps super high either. And he has, for his size, I think he has short arms. You know what I mean? Which is one of the reasons why you always see him double clutch. So he's not like he's able to just, pull back and pull up and float over people. Like these guys got to work hard to get their shots off. So it makes it a little bit more difficult, I think. And so that's part of the reason why I think there's going to be a couple of games where it looks like, the energy is lost. They got to fight it. And it's going to be difficult for them. They got to be that workhorse type of team, lunch pail team. That's who they have to be. And I think that's what they've got to take on as their identity. I like the fact that they want to score more and they're pushing the pace. And they are up in the league in shot attempts. As a matter of fact, the New York Knicks are 5th in the league in shot attempts. And I do like that, right? They are at 92 shot attempts per game. The Oklahoma City Thunder lead the league in shot attempts at 94.7. Memphis Grizzlies 92.8. Charlotte Hornets 92.5. and the Atlanta Hawks 92.4. So there's not a big difference between number 5 and number 2 in shot attempts. The Grizzlies at number 2 are 92.8. The Knicks at 5 are 92. Right, so the Knicks are up there in the league in attempts, which results in more points. Okay, but they also got to be lunch pail, in my opinion, a workhorse lunch pail type of team. And in order to do that, sometimes you got to slow down the pace. And so the Knicks are trying to figure out what their identity is. I think this team's identity should just be a lunch pail type of team because that's the type of players they have. You know what I mean? They have grit and grind type of guys in the way that they have to win basketball games, but they're trying to figure out their identity still. I don't know what their identity is. I'm sure you don't sure what their identity is. I don't think they know what their identity is right now. They're trying to figure that out. They got to pick up some wins along the way. But ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time. I'm going to head out so I can grab something to eat, start to get myself settled in to watch this basketball game. I'll probably be on about 8:15 for the post-game show, so I hope that you join me. Hopefully we'll be talking about a Knicks win. All right? Let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I will see you later on tonight, 8:15. As a matter of fact, as soon as I get off of here, I'm setting it up for tonight, so you'll get the notification right away. Make sure that you lock it in so you'll be here at 8:15 or maybe a little bit earlier or maybe a little bit later, right after the basketball game. That's when I'm jumping in. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you later on. I appreciate your time. Go Knicks. Let's go get this win, baby. Let's do it.